Oh my God, you guys, I honestly don't even know where to begin with this one. My heart is still pounding just thinking about it, and every time I close my eyes, I see their faces. I caught my husband, the man I've been married to for over 30 years, with my son's fiancée. Yes, you heard that right. My son's fiancée. But that's not even the half of it, because I was in total shock when I found out who she really was, who she actually turned out to be. I mean, can you even imagine? My whole world just imploded in an instant, and I'm sitting here, still reeling, still trying to process how my life got to this point. I have to ask you, seriously, was I wrong for what I did next? Because a part of me feels justified, absolutely righteous, but another part just feels numb. Tell me, please, if you would have done the same thing. Let's go back to the beginning, because honestly, you need all the context to truly understand the depth of this betrayal. I'm Sarah, and I've been married to Michael for 32 blissful, or so I thought, years. We have 2 wonderful children. Our son, David, who's 30, and our daughter, Emily, who's 28. Our life was, from the outside, perfectly picturesque. Michael was a successful architect, I ran a small but thriving interior design business, and our kids were both doing incredibly well. David, our eldest, was a brilliant software engineer, and Emily was a talented graphic designer. We lived in a beautiful, sprawling home that Michael designed himself, with a huge garden that I absolutely adored. We hosted family dinners every Sunday, went on annual vacations, and genuinely seemed like the quintessential happy family. Our biggest concern, frankly, was deciding which cruise to book next year. We were the envy of our friends, the couple everyone looked up to, and I believed every single bit of it. I truly did. David had always been a bit more reserved than Emily. He was focused on his career, a bit of a workaholic, and hadn't really had a serious girlfriend until about a year and a half ago. That's when he met Chloe. He brought her to our Sunday dinner, and from the moment she walked through our front door, she was a breath of fresh air. Chloe was 27, a stunning redhead with a vibrant personality and an infectious laugh. She was a kindergarten teacher, and she just radiated warmth and kindness. David, who usually had a poker face, absolutely glowed when she was around. It was clear he was smitten, and honestly, so were we. Michael and I both took to Chloe instantly. She was polite, engaging, and genuinely seemed to adore David. She fit seamlessly into our family, joining in on our inside jokes, helping me in the kitchen, and even engaging Michael in discussions about architecture, which was a rare feat. She truly felt like the daughter I never had. I remember telling Michael, "She's perfect for David, isn't she? She's going to make him so happy." And he agreed, wholeheartedly. He'd often joke with her, calling her his favorite future daughter-in-law, and she'd just laugh and blush, a charming response that made me love her even more. Over the next year, their relationship blossomed beautifully. David was happier than I'd ever seen him. He'd bring Chloe to all our family events, and she'd spend holidays with us. We even took a family trip to Italy, and Chloe was, of course, invited. She was just as excited as we were, if not more so, exploring every ancient ruin and savoring every pasta dish. We shared so many laughs, so many incredible memories. She even bought Michael a little souvenir, a miniature Colosseum, because she remembered him saying he always wanted to see it in person. It was such a thoughtful gesture, and it really cemented her place in our family. I remember thinking how lucky David was, how lucky we were to have her. I started dreaming of grandchildren, of holidays with a full house, of growing old with our extended family around us. It felt complete, like the final piece of our family puzzle had fallen into place. Then, 6 months ago, David proposed to Chloe. It was a beautiful, intimate proposal at their favorite park, and he sent us photos right away. Chloe's ring was stunning, and her smile was even more so. I cried tears of joy. Michael beamed with pride, and Emily was absolutely thrilled to have a new sister-in-law. The wedding planning started almost immediately. Chloe was so excited, so full of ideas. She wanted a rustic outdoor wedding, and I, being an interior designer, offered to help with all the decorations and planning. We spent countless hours together, poring over mood boards, tasting cakes, and discussing floral arrangements. It was such a special time, a bonding experience I cherished. We'd laugh, share stories, and she'd even confide in me about little worries or stresses. She was so open, so genuine, or so I believed. Michael was also heavily involved, helping with the logistical side of things, making sure the venue was perfect, and even offering to pay for a significant portion of the wedding, which was incredibly generous. He was always so supportive of our children, and this seemed like just another example of his boundless love. He and Chloe developed their own little inside jokes, often teasing David about something or other, and it was endearing to watch. I thought it was just a sign of how comfortable she was with our whole family. The wedding was set for next summer, just a few months away. Everything was meticulously planned, down to the tiniest detail. The invitations were sent, the caterers booked, and Chloe had found her dream wedding dress. We were all counting down the days. It was going to be the biggest, most joyous event our family had seen in years. I was so looking forward to seeing David finally settle down, to starting this new chapter with Chloe officially as part of our family. Then came the day my world shattered. It was a Tuesday about 2 weeks ago. I had an unexpected day off. A client had rescheduled, leaving me with a rare free day. Michael was supposedly at a conference out of town, or so he told me. He left Sunday evening and wasn't due back until Thursday. David was at work and Emily was out of state for a design convention. The house was blissfully quiet, and I decided to take advantage of it. I planned a relaxing day, a long bath, catching up on some reading, and maybe even tackling a few creative projects I hadn't had time for. Around noon, I decided to make myself a light lunch. As I was walking through the living room, I noticed something odd. The door to Michael's home office, which he usually kept meticulously locked, was slightly ajar. Now, Michael is very particular about his office. It contains sensitive client information, and he's always been very strict about keeping it locked. My curiosity was piqued, but not in a suspicious way, more in a, that's unusual kind of way. I figured he must have forgotten to lock it in his haste to leave for the conference. I pushed the door open, intending to just close and lock it, when I heard voices. Low, murmuring voices. My blood ran cold. My first thought was that a burglar had somehow gotten in, which was absurd, given our security system. Then I heard a laugh. A familiar laugh. It was Chloe, my son's fiancée. What was she doing in Michael's office? And who was she talking to? My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe she'd come over to drop something off for David and Michael had forgotten something, so she was helping him? No, Michael was supposedly out of town. The pieces weren't fitting. I crept closer, my heart thumping a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The voices grew clearer. And then I heard it. Michael's voice. Chloe, you really are something else, you know that? He chuckled, a low, intimate sound I hadn't heard him use in years, not directed at me anyway. My stomach dropped. I leaned against the doorframe, peeking around the corner. And what I saw next, it will haunt me forever. Michael was sitting at his large mahogany desk, and Chloe was perched on the edge of it, facing him. Their bodies were dangerously close, almost touching. His hand was resting on her knee, gently caressing it, and her head was thrown back in laughter, her vibrant red hair spilling over her shoulders. The intimacy, the comfort between them, was palpable, sickeningly so. It wasn't just a friendly chat. It was something far, far darker. My breath hitched in my throat. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, so strong I thought I might actually throw up. This couldn't be happening. Not Michael. Not Chloe. Not my son's fiancée. My legs felt like lead, but I managed to push myself further into the room. They didn't notice me at first, too engrossed in their little bubble of betrayal. You always know how to make me smile, Michael. Chloe purred, leaning in closer, her voice husky. And then I saw it. She leaned in and kissed him. A full, lingering kiss on the lips. My husband. My son's fiancé. In my home. My knees buckled, and I stumbled, a gasp escaping my lips. They broke apart, startled, their heads snapping towards me. Their faces, I will never forget them. Michael's face went from a look of tender affection to pure, unadulterated terror. Chloe's, on the other hand, contorted into a mixture of shock and something else, something cold, something almost defiant. The silence in that room was deafening, suffocating. I couldn't speak. The words were stuck somewhere deep in my throat, choked by disbelief and a searing pain I hadn't known was possible. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" Michael stammered, his face ashen. He quickly removed his hand from Chloe's knee, as if that could somehow erase what I had just witnessed. Chloe slid off the desk, trying to compose herself, but her eyes kept darting between me and Michael, a nervous energy radiating from her. I finally found my voice, but it was a whisper, raw and broken. "What am I doing here? What are you two doing here?" My voice gained strength with each word, rising to a furious crescendo. "How dare you? How dare you, Michael? And you, Chloe, my son's fiancée. What kind of sick game is this?" Michael tried to get up, to approach me, but I recoiled. "Don't you dare come near me," I shrieked, my voice cracking with emotion. "Get away from me, both of you." Chloe, surprisingly, was the first to speak, her voice surprisingly steady, almost challenging. "Sarah, please, it's not what you think." "Oh, it's not what I think," I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "I just saw you kissing my husband, Chloe, in his office. What else am I supposed to think? That it's a new family tradition? A pre-wedding ritual?" My sarcasm was dripping with venom. Michael finally found his voice, a pathetic plea. "Sarah, I can explain. It's complicated." "Complicated?" I roared, my fury finally erupting. "There's nothing complicated about betraying your wife of 30 years with your son's future wife. There's nothing complicated about destroying your family." I pointed a trembling finger at Chloe. "And you seemed so sweet, so innocent. You played us all for fools. My son, your fiancé, adores you. He thinks you're the most wonderful woman in the world. How could you do this to him? To us?" Chloe's composure finally started to crack. Her eyes welled up, but there was still that hint of defiance. "It just happened, Sarah. We didn't mean for it to." "Didn't mean for it to?" I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. "Things like this don't just happen, Chloe. This is a choice. A deliberate, disgusting choice." Michael, looking utterly defeated, finally confessed. We've been seeing each other for a few months, Sarah." "A few months." The words hit me like a physical blow. "A few months." During the wedding planning. During our family vacation to Italy. All those times she was in our home, sharing meals, sharing laughs, while secretly sleeping with my husband. The depth of the deception was unfathomable. It wasn't just a moment of weakness, a drunken mistake. This was a sustained, calculated betrayal. "How long?" I demanded, my voice dangerously calm, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside me. Michael swallowed hard. Since just after David proposed." My breath caught in my throat. Just after David proposed. So, during all those joyous wedding planning sessions, all those excited discussions about David and Chloe's future, they were sneaking around behind our backs. My son's fiancé and my husband. The images flashed through my mind. Chloe helping me choose tablecloths, Michael discussing the guest list with her, both of them putting on a show, lying to my face, to David's face, to everyone's face. The sheer audacity, the cold-blooded cruelty of it all, was sickening. I looked at Chloe, really looked at her, and the sweet, charming woman I thought I knew vanished, replaced by a stranger, a betrayer. "Get out," I whispered, the words barely audible. "Get out of my house. Now." Chloe hesitated, glancing at Michael. He looked at me, a silent plea in his eyes, but I was beyond reasoning. I said, "Get out," I screamed, pointing to the door. "And if you ever come near my family again, I swear to God, I will make you regret it." Chloe, her face now pale and streaked with tears, finally turned and fled, rushing out of the office and through the front door without another word. The sound of the door slamming shut echoed through the house, a final, jarring punctuation to the nightmare. Then it was just Michael and me. The air was thick with unspoken accusations, with shattered trust and broken promises. He stood there, shoulders slumped, looking like a little boy caught with his hand in the cookie jar, except the cookies were my life, my marriage, my son's happiness. How could you, Michael? I choked out, tears finally streaming down my face. After all these years? Our family? David? How could you do this to David? The thought of my son, of his innocent love and trust, being so cruelly trampled upon, was unbearable. He tried to explain, tried to rationalize, muttering something about feeling neglected, about a spark he thought was gone, about Chloe being different. But I wasn't listening. The words were just noise, empty excuses. My mind was reeling, trying to comprehend the magnitude of this deceit. My husband, with my son's fiancée. It was so utterly depraved, so utterly cruel, that it felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. And that's when it hit me like a lightning bolt. A memory, a tiny, almost insignificant detail, flashed into my mind. Chloe had a tattoo, a small, delicate butterfly on her wrist. I'd seen it once when she was reaching for something in the kitchen, and I'd complimented her on it. She just smiled and said it was a gift, a symbol of freedom. But that wasn't right. Michael's sister, my sister-in-law, had a similar tattoo. A butterfly. She'd gotten it years ago, a matching one with her best friend, who was also named Chloe. No, that wasn't right either. It was a friend from college, her half-sister, also named Chloe. The details were murky, but the name, Chloe, and the butterfly tattoo, a chilling thought began to form in my mind, a dark whisper that turned into a scream in my head. I remembered a conversation from years ago, before David even met Chloe. Michael's sister, Margaret, had visited, and we were reminiscing about family history. Margaret had mentioned that Michael had a half-sister, a secret love child his father had with another woman before he met Michael's mother. This half-sister was given up for adoption and, according to Margaret, her name was Chloe. Margaret had always been quite gossipy, so I hadn't put much stock in it, treating it as another dramatic family anecdote. Michael had always been very dismissive of the story, even angry, whenever it came up, insisting it was just an old rumor, a fabrication. He never wanted to talk about his father's past, especially not about any alleged secret children. He had always been very private about his family history, citing a difficult childhood. So, I dismissed it, filed it away as one of those things you hear about in old families but never really believe. But now, staring at Michael's pale, guilt-ridden face, remembering Chloe's defiant eyes and that particular tattoo, a horrifying connection clicked into place. The butterfly tattoo. Chloe had said it was a gift, a symbol of freedom. My sister-in-law, Margaret, had told me her half-sister also had a butterfly tattoo. And her name was Chloe. The age was right. The timing felt unnervingly right. Chloe, I said, my voice barely a tremor. Does she have a distinctive butterfly tattoo on her wrist? Michael froze. His eyes widened, and he suddenly looked even more terrified than before, if that was even possible. He started to stammer. Sarah, what are you talking about? It's just a tattoo. Don't lie to me, Michael. I shrieked, the pieces of the puzzle crashing together in my mind with sickening clarity. That Chloe, my son's fiancée, is your half-sister, isn't she? Your father's illegitimate daughter. The one Margaret told me about. The one you always denied existed. The color drained from his face, leaving him ghostly white. He couldn't even look at me. His silence was all the confirmation I needed. My stomach churned, and I felt a fresh wave of nausea, even stronger than before. This wasn't just an affair. This was incest. My husband, not only cheating on me with our son's fiancée, but with his own half-sister. The woman our son was about to marry was Michael's half-sister, and they were having an affair. The depravity, the sheer, unimaginable horror of it all, was beyond anything I could have ever conceived. My son, David, was unknowingly engaged to his father's half-sister, and his father was sleeping with her. The reality of it hit me with such force that I felt like I was going to collapse. The air in the room became heavy, suffocating. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred with unshed tears, but also with a searing anger that burned hotter than anything I'd ever felt. This wasn't just a betrayal of our marriage. It was a betrayal of our entire family, a violation of every moral and ethical boundary imaginable. My son, my innocent, loving son, was being dragged into this horrifying web of deceit and incest. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. A choice that would either protect my son or destroy what little was left of our family. A choice that felt like tearing my own soul in two. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. What would you do if you discovered your husband was having an incestuous affair with your son's fiancée, a woman who also happened to be his own half-sister? I stood there, trembling, trying to make sense of the monstrosity that had just unfolded. Michael, still ashen, finally looked up at me, his eyes pleading. Sarah, please, you have to understand. I didn't know at first. When I met her, when David first brought her home, I just thought she was a lovely girl. I swear I didn't connect it until much later. And then it was too late. I was already involved.
It was a mistake.
A horrible, horrible mistake. His voice was choked with what sounded like genuine remorse, but at that moment, I couldn't feel anything but revulsion. When did you find out? I asked, my voice dangerously low, each word punctuated by the throbbing pain in my head. He hesitated, then finally confessed. About 2 months ago. She told me her full name and her birth mother's name. It was the same as the woman Margaret had mentioned. And then she showed me the tattoo, said it was a symbol of her adoption, a connection to her birth family. And then she mentioned how she found her birth father's name online and that he had another son named Michael. That's when I put it all together. I confronted her. Sarah, I swear I did. I told her it was wrong, that we had to stop. And you stopped? I asked, a bitter laugh escaping me. Because I just found you two kissing in your office, didn't I? He buried his face in his hands.
No, Sarah.
I tried. But it was so complicated. She said she loved me. She said she felt this incredible connection to me, and that she felt like she finally found her family. She said she didn't want to lose me, that she didn't care about the labels. And I was weak, Sarah. I was so incredibly weak. His confession, while horrifying, brought a chilling realization. He hadn't just been lying to me and David, he had also been lying to Chloe. She might have genuinely believed she found her father's son, a brother, and then a lover. It was a twisted, sick mess. And David, my son, was right in the middle of it, completely oblivious. My decision crystallized in that moment. My primary responsibility was to protect my son. David deserved the truth, no matter how ugly, no matter how much it hurt. He deserved to know the monstrous deception he was about to marry into. And I wouldn't let Michael or Chloe ruin his life further. Get out, Michael, I said, my voice firm, devoid of any emotion now. The shock had given way to a cold, hard resolve. Pack a bag. You're leaving. Today. He looked up, aghast. Sarah, no.
Please.
Think about David. Think about our family.
We can fix this.
We can get help. There is no fixing this, Michael, I stated, my eyes fixed on him. You betrayed me. You betrayed our son. And you committed incest with your own half-sister, the woman our son was about to marry. There is no coming back from that. Ever. I gave him an ultimatum. He had 1 hour to pack a bag and leave. If he wasn't gone by then, I would call David, tell him everything, and call the police. The threat of public exposure, of facing the full legal and social consequences of his actions, seemed to finally penetrate his fog of denial and self-pity. He slowly, reluctantly, got up and went to our bedroom to pack. As he packed, I called Emily. She was my rock, my sensible daughter. I explained everything to her, trying to keep my voice steady, but I could hear the raw pain in my own words. Emily was utterly devastated, but also furious. She immediately booked a flight home, promising to be by my side. After Michael left, I called David. This was the hardest part. My hand was shaking so violently, I almost dropped the phone. I took a deep breath, rehearsed the words in my head, and then made the call. David, I started. We need to talk. Something terrible has happened. I told him everything, slowly, carefully, watching his reactions through the phone. At first, he was confused, then disbelieving, then angry. He refused to believe it. Mom, no, you must be mistaken. Chloe would never. Dad would never. He was in denial, clinging to the image of the perfect family, the perfect fiancé. But I persisted, providing every detail, every agonizing piece of evidence, even about the half-sister revelation. I told him about the tattoo, about Michael's confession. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could hear his ragged breathing, the sound of his world shattering. He hung up abruptly, without another word. I knew he needed time, space to process this unimaginable horror. Hours later, David called me back. His voice was cold, flat, utterly devoid of emotion. He had called Michael, who, in his broken state, had confessed everything, reiterating the story about Chloe being his half-sister and their affair. David then called Chloe, who, faced with irrefutable evidence and Michael's confession, finally admitted it all, sobbing hysterically. The conversations had confirmed everything. David was heartbroken, furious, and utterly disgusted. He immediately broke off the engagement. He couldn't even bring himself to say Chloe's name. The fallout was immense. David was a shell of his former self. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. He stopped going to work for a while, just holed himself up in his apartment, trying to come to terms with the fact that his fiancée was not only having an affair with his father, but was also his father's half-sister. The genetic aspect of it, the incestuous nature of their relationship, was what truly disgusted and horrified him the most. He felt a deep sense of betrayal, not just from Chloe and Michael, but from the universe itself. Emily arrived the next day, and her presence was a balm to my shattered soul. We held each other and cried for hours. She was fiercely protective of David and me, railing against Michael and Chloe. She spent a lot of time with David, helping him navigate the initial shock and grief, reminding him that he was loved and that none of this was his fault. The wedding, of course, was canceled. We had to inform all the guests, all the vendors. It was humiliating, painful, and financially devastating. We simply told everyone that personal family matters had led to the cancellation, trying to protect David from the full extent of the scandal, though rumors, inevitably, started to spread. Some people were understanding, some were curious, some were judgmental. But at that point, I honestly didn't care what anyone else thought. My priority was my children. Michael tried to contact me, sending endless texts and emails, begging for forgiveness, promising to change, to get therapy, anything. I ignored them all. David changed his number and blocked him. Emily refused to speak to him. We cut him out of our lives completely.
He lost his job.
His reputation was in tatters. He was ostracized by our friends and extended family who, upon hearing snippets of the truth, were equally disgusted. Chloe also tried to reach out, mostly to David, but he never responded. She even showed up at our house once, begging to speak to me, to explain, to apologize. But I simply told her to leave and never come back. I learned later that she had also lost her job and moved out of state, unable to face the shame and the consequences of her actions. Her entire life, built on lies and betrayal, had crumbled. It's been a few weeks now. David is slowly starting to heal, but the scars will undoubtedly remain. He's in therapy, trying to process the trauma of it all. He still struggles with trust issues, and the idea of dating again seems alien to him. I'm trying to be strong for him, for Emily, but I'm also shattered. 32 years of marriage, a lifetime of memories, all reduced to ashes by one horrific act of betrayal. Our beautiful home, once filled with laughter and love, now feels empty, haunted by the ghosts of what once was. I've started divorce proceedings. There's no coming back from this. This whole experience has taught me a painful lesson about trust, about appearances, about the darkest corners of human nature. It's a reminder that even the closest relationships, the ones you think are rock solid, can be built on quicksand. My perfect life was an illusion, a fragile facade that crumbled in an instant. If you've stuck with me through this entire nightmare, I want to thank you. It helps to share this burden, to know that I'm not alone in processing such a monumental betrayal. Like this video if you were on my side, if you think I did the right thing by exposing the truth and cutting them both out of our lives. Subscribe for more stories like this, because believe me, if I survive this, I'll have plenty more to tell. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I need to know what you think, how you would have handled such an impossible situation. I'll see you all in the next story.